women play a massive role in sexual selection among human beings, so that from an evolutionary perspective, you're twice as likely to be a failure if you're a man than you are if you're a woman, in that you have twice as many female ancestors as male ancestors. And you think, well, that's impossible, but it's not. All you have to do is imagine that every woman has one child, half the men have two and the other half have zero, and so end of problem. And that's basically how it works out. So women are more choosy maters than men by a substantial margin. There's a funny study done by the guy who established, it's one of the big dating sites, and he looked at how women rated men, and they rated the 50th percentile man at the 15th percentile. So 85% of men were below average according to women's ratings. Now men had their same arbitrary choices, because of course they preferred younger women to older women, and they were more swayed, I would say, by attractiveness, but that didn't have nearly as big an effect on their actual rating of women. So anyway, so you know, from a Darwinian perspective, nature is that which selects. That's all it is. And so sexual selection plays a massive role in human evolution. You know, the fact that we have these massive brains is very likely a consequence of a positive feedback loop in sexual selection. You know, because otherwise that's the only time you can get really rapid changes in evolutionary space, where, you know, you get a process going that reinforces itself. So there's a little preference for intelligence, and then that produces more intelligent men and women, and then there's a little more preference for intelligence, and you know, maybe then that turns into the ability to speak and or to master fire, and then there's way more selection for intelligence, and the brain just goes like this, you know, and women have paid a pretty big price for that, because your hips are basically so wide that you can barely run, and if they were any wider then you couldn't, and of course the pelvic passageway through which the baby travels is too small, so it's really painful and dangerous, and the baby's head has to compress quite a lot. I mean, they come out cone-shaped often, and then they're born really young, so you have to take care of them forever. Like, what the hell, you know, a deer is born, a fawn is born, and it's like 2 seconds later it's standing, and then it's running from a lion. It's like, you know, it's like 15 minutes later, and a baby, it's like, he just lies there and, you know, utters plaintive noises. That's all it can do, and it does that for like 10 months before it could skitter away from a sloth if it was predatory, you know. So you really got to take care of those creatures. And so